But it's also not just the government, it's the media as well. So I want to talk about a MediaMatters analysis of the broadcast coverage of Hurricane Harvey. From August 23rd to September 7th, they found that neither ABC nor NBC aired a single segment on their morning, evening, or Sunday news shows that mentioned the link between climate change and hurricanes. And we know how much the media was covering those hurricanes. They just chose not to make that connection clear. CBS and PBS NewsHour each aired 3 segments, which is something. Fox actually aired 6 segments that mentioned climate change, but most of those dismissed the link between climate change and hurricanes. So thank you, Fox, for doing that. CNN and MSNBC each aired 5 segments that legitimately discussed the link. So CNN and MSNBC certainly could do more considering their 24-hour-a-day coverage of the hurricanes, but they at least did mention it on multiple occasions.
So ABC and NBC are 0, I'm doing quick math here. NBC and PBS is 6, but Fox News is 6 against.
Right.
So that's just 5 networks that is a net 0.
Yeah.
So golly gee, I don't know what happened. All the world's scientists agree what happened. They all agree that the storms are worse because of climate change. But on TV, the so-called liberal media, you actually almost never hear that. Now, CNN and MSNBC are 24 hours a day. So wow, in this giant period of
a week.
No, 2 weeks at least, August 23rd to September 7th. They did a combined 10 segments in a span of 24 hours after 24 hours, and this is giant news. But at least give them credit that they did it.
That's true. To be fair, I mean, we do 2 hours a day. I know we've done more than 10 segments in the past 2 weeks, and we do far less than 1/12 the coverage that they do.
This is a victory. The right wing, and I hate to, I hate to always, I don't want to be name calling, but it's just from the right, they effectively message. And the message that they've allowed to get out there and it's stuck is that talk about climate change is a politicization of science. And they've created this idea that talking about it is now a leftist thing to do. And newsrooms at those networks have accepted that. And it's just not true. There is science behind this. But I think that's their messaging sticking. And it's being internalized in editorial decisions at the networks.
So look, the one thing we can see here, fairly definitively shown, is that there is no liberal media bias. If anything, it's the opposite. If you think that some of the people who work there are liberals, okay, that's I understand that, and there are some studies that back that up in terms of they're mainly talking about print journalists, but on TV I wouldn't be surprised either. So we're not denying that reality, okay? But first of all, they don't make the decisions. The higher ups make the decisions, and the higher ups are at a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They are not liberals. Those corporations want lower taxes and they want deregulation. And by the way, part of deregulation is on this issue as well. Yeah. So if we were going to take proper precautions about climate change, we would have a lot more regulation. Some of their top advertisers are fossil fuel industry. So there's a lot of factors that lead them to not being remotely liberal.
That's not fair, Cenk. BP is just trying to sell gigantic barrels of oil to regular people watching the morning show on MSNBC. I've got one in my bedroom. It's big, but it could come in handy someday.
By the way, if you don't know that, there's companies that don't sell anything to the public. Now, at least BP could make an argument, well, you could stop at our gas stations, and whether they're in your neighborhood is a lot more relevant than if I did this ad, but at least they can make an argument. There's some giant companies that don't sell anything to consumers, but they do millions of dollars in advertising and TV. Why do you think they do that? They do that so you don't talk about the problems that they create. This is an excellent example of that. Yeah. And so finally, even if you think that they are actually all liberals at these media organizations, then they have at least been cowed by the right wing into not saying anything because, oh my God, they'll call us liberal, they'll call us liberal. Even though all the scientists agree what's happening. Let us not report the facts. Let's not report the facts because of the names that the right wing might call us. Yeah. That's not journalism, that's something else altogether. If you are neutral to the facts, that means you are not a journalist. You have to be objective about the facts. Neutral is, some people say there's climate change and other people say there's not climate change. I wish I was a journalist so I could figure out which one was which, okay? But I'm not gonna tell you, I'm just gonna shut up because otherwise Fox News might yell at me. An objective journalist goes, here is what the scientists are reporting definitively. Here's what the reality is. Here's why your family's suffering. Here's why we're having climate change. Here's why the hurricanes are much more severe. Do your job in the media. Do your job. And if you won't, well, I guess what's happening now is what's going to happen, which is that we'll replace you. That is why a lot of these networks have audiences that are ancient. They're not adding anyone new, because I got news for you. Online, we can look things up. So when you omit the facts, when you don't do real journalism, people don't trust you anymore and they just leave. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Support independent media. Come join us at the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.